this is DM Rob G, and welcome to Black History vs. Alien vs. Predator. Now, as you can tell, there is a bit of an issue. I got betrayed. Uh-oh. So, of course, this will not stand, so I'm going to have to respond with extreme prejudice. You know, general violence and beatings, that sort of thing. Thankfully, I have 3 free prisoner beds. I'm actually going to try and go ahead and try to save as many as I can. Let's see. Where are you going? Here works. Build-A-Bot 3! No! No! Oh, right, bots. Recall all. Where's Build-A-Bot 3? Repair bot. Who's shooting? Oh, Revis. Cool. Hey, how about that? Get him! Uh-oh. Oh, come on. Yes, I know it's frightening. Somebody had a freaking breakdown. Okay, thinking. Let's see. They're all on melee. You either go after him. Claudette? Oh, Claudette! You there. You are on one of my creatures. No! Oh, they're bugging out because they're on one of my creatures. Oh, I love it. You beat him to death? Oh, well. Let's see, where are the rest? Part of my wall is now missing. Let's see. I think that's it. Poor fools. You know, I don't know why you would try to betray, like, 8 of them. Flee. Animal Warg 1 is fleeing in panic. Oh, hey, how about that? Gladys, beat him. Lucy, beat him. Shank! I love that. The refugees are fleeing. Well, no mercy. Oh, Mildred cannot walk. Rescue Mildred. Well, I have free weapons, so... Did one escape? Oh, Kent. So I'm hearing gunfire, so... Can prisoners escape? I don't think so. Oh, hey, Jerry. Oh, come on. Dude. Haul that rock. Hauling marble chunk, thank you. Okay, I hear gunfire from where? Camel's running. Gladys is down. Rescue Gladys. Oh, well, oh well. Rose has gone berserk. Oh, meleeer. No, 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 melee. Oh, I'm sure I want him using that. Rescue Rose. Wait a minute. Oh, okay. Architect orders allow unforbid. Yes, cat. Can I help you? Meow? Huh? No, 10 to... Oh, well, okay then. Hi, how are you? Oh, hush. Ooh, I got a good one. 14 in artistic. Wow, nice. I should probably put up more benches. There. Cat wants attention, but she won't sit down. Kitty. Who to resurrect? I hear fighting. Why do I hear fighting? You. Okay. I can hear fighting. But, they're after Kent. I got you. Oh, no. Dude. That's mean. Ooh, a surrogate heart. Wonder if I could leave him to bleed out. Uh-oh. Fibbin. Borg. Uh-oh. I need to get Terry. Rescue him. There. Oh, dang. Oh, well. You say fibbing. Well, at the very least, God freaking A, come on. Do I need to destroy all these meals? Good night. So, tell you what. Lucy, just move that. You tend to yourself. Seth is resting. Man, that's a lot of corpses in the middle of my base. Good news is I had this cargo shuttle filled. It's actually goes a bit far, honestly. Goes to about here, just over this Wolverine's location, actually. So it's a bit far. Claudette can mark herself on Mule. So, have her do that. Clean that bloody kitchen over. I might just need to bite the bullet and replace that one lung. Come on, come on, come on. Did I clean the wrong one? On a mule. I can't just like click on you and say no. Ah! Okay, I'll deal with these in a moment. Valentine's Day in New Jersey will also be known as Frederick Douglass Day. Okay. Activate all. Jeez. Character. Skin color. Let's see. Frederick Douglass. Born February in 1813. Phoenix cats died. Burned to death. Burned to death. Weird. And died February 20th, 1895. Was an American social reformer, abolitionist, orator, writer, and statesman. After escaping from slavery in Maryland, he became a national leader in the abolitionist movement in Massachusetts and New York, becoming famous for his oratory and incisive anti-slavery writings. Accordingly, he was described by abolitionists at this time as a living counterexample to slaveholders' arguments that slaves lacked the intellectual capacity to function as independent American citizens. Likewise, Northerners at the time found it hard to believe that such a great orator had once been a slave. Douglass wrote, oh, come on. Had once been a slave. Douglass wrote 3 autobiographies, notably describing his experiences as a slave in his narrative of Frederick Douglass, an American slave, in 1845. In 1845, which became a bestseller and influential in promoting the cause of abolition, as well as his second book, My Bondage and My Freedom. In 1855, following the Civil War, Douglass remained an active campaigner against slavery and wrote in his last autobiography, Life and Times of Frederick Douglass. Wrote his final biography, Life and Times of Frederick Douglass, first published in 1881 and revised in 1892, 3 years before his death. The book covers events both during and after the Civil War. Douglass actively supported women's suffrage and held several public offices. Without his approval, Douglass became the first African American nominated for Vice President of the United States as the running mate and Vice Presidential nominee of Victoria Woodhull on the Equal Rights Party ticket. Douglass believed in dialogue and in making alliances across both racial and ideological divides, as well as in the liberal values of the U.S. Constitution. And radical abolitionists under the motto, "No union with slaveholders," criticized Douglass's willingness to engage in dialogue with slave owners, who replied, I would unite with anybody to do the right thing with nobody to do wrong." Pause. Alright, I got this. I got this all sorted. I read a bit about Frederick Douglass, and this is going to be a doozy. This entire episode is likely going to be dedicated to me talking about Frederick. I start on slavery in the next episode. Hell, Fred, you're up. Thank you. How are you? It's been a while, man. Hope everything's to your liking. What about Lynn? She's still out, but Gladys, on the other hand, is absolutely very happy to see you. I hope everything is progressing to your liking, Fred and Lynn. And I'll need to find Mule later because... Oh, wait, Mule. Hey, how about that? Oh, Claudette, open that grave. Now, Frederick Augustus Washington Bailey was born into slavery on the eastern shore of Chesapeake Bay in Talbot County, Maryland. The plantation was between Hillsborough and Cordova, his birthplace likely his grandmother's cabin east of Trapper's Corner and west of Tuckahoe Creek. His first autobiography Okay, really? Again? It's like... Is this the third time I've had a stew? Huh, okay. Stew is efficient, so I'll use this. So I'll research stews. Fire foam is something I might need here real soon. I love how that dog's leaving human footprints. Anyway, Douglass. In his first autobiography, Douglass stated that I have no accurate knowledge of my age, never having seen any authentic record containing it. However, based on the extant records of Douglass's former owner, Aaron Anthony, historian Douglas J. Peterson determined that Douglass was born in February 1818. Though the exact date of his birth is unknown, he later chose the date of February 14th as his birthday, remembering his mother calling him Little Valentine. Oh, that's sweet. Oh, freaking A. Borg. So here's what I'm going to do. Floor, sterile tile here. And I'm really not going to go over... I'm really not going to put the camera on Fred right now because that just seems disrespectful. Where's my robot? I'm just gonna instead, like, work this a bit. Borg, Krukar, Gladys, Lucy, and Rose, as well as DMX. Anyway, Douglas was of mixed race, which likely included Native American and African on his mother's side, as well as European. Douglas said his mother, Harriet Bailey, gave him the name Frederick Augustus Washington Bailey after escaping the North years later, and after escaping the North years later, he gave himself the name Frederick. There. This one can have as many freaking minds as possible. Control you doing this? Anyway. He later wrote of the earliest times with his mother. The opinion was whispered that my master was my father, but the correctness of this opinion I know nothing. My mother and I were separated when I was but an infant. It is a common custom in that part of Maryland from which I ran away to part children from their mothers at a very young, early age. I do not recollect ever seeing my mother by the light of day. She was with me in the night. She would lie down with me, get me to sleep, but long before I walked, she was gone. After separation from his mother during infancy, young Frederick lived with his maternal grandmother, Betsy Bailey, who was also a slave, and his maternal grandfather, Isaac, who was free. I'm actually not sure how that works, but... Anita, why are you messing with the geese? Kill it. Kill that rat. Oh, you're just hungry. Now, Frederick's mother remained on the plantation about 12 miles away, only visiting Frederick a few times before her death when he was 7 years old. At the age of 6, Frederick was separated from his grandparents and moved to the White House plantation, where Aaron Anthony worked as an overseer. After Anthony died in 1826, Douglas had given Lucretia Auld, wife of Thomas Auld, sent him to serve as Thomas's brother, High Auld in Baltimore. Lucretia was essential in Douglas's formation as she shaped his experiences and took and took special interest with him as a child. Douglass described her as a tender-hearted woman who treated me as she supposed one human being ought to treat another. I all disapproved of the tutoring, feeling that literacy would encourage slaves to desire freedom. Which, I mean, why wouldn't it? It sounds like a complete arse. Complete ass. Hugh Auld disapproved of the tutoring. Oops. Douglass referred to this as the first silent anti-slavery lecture he ever heard. Under her husband's influence, Sophia came to believe that education and slavery were incompatible, and one day snatched a newspaper away from Douglass. She stopped teaching him altogether and hid all potential reading materials, including her Bible, from him. In his biography, Douglass related how he learned to read from white children in the neighborhood by observing the writings of men he worked with. Let's see. I believe it's not Gladys. It's Lucy, I think. Lucy. You're napping. Bioengineering supplier. We'll see. Douglass continued secretly to teach himself to read and write. He later often said knowledge is the pathway from slavery to freedom. As Douglass began to read newspapers, pamphlets, political materials, and books of every description, this new realm of thought led him to question and condemn the institution of slavery. In later years, Douglass credited the Colombian orator an anthology he discovered about the age of 12, clarifying and defining his views on freedom and human rights. First published in 1797, the book is a classroom reader containing essays, speeches, dialogues to assist students in learning, reading, and grammar. He later learned his mother had also been literate, about which he would later declare, "I'm quite willing, even happy, to attribute any love of letters I possess, for which any have got, despite prejudices, only too much credit, not to my eminently Anglo-Saxon paternity, but to the native genius of my sable, unprotected, and uncultivated mother, a woman who belonged to a race whose mental endowments is at present fashionable to hold in disparagement and contempt." Okay, now I'm curious, what do you guys actually do? Like a vat-grown titan beetle? A giant beetle-like insectoid recognized for its ability to break down solid materials into small and easier to carry chunks. It is heavily armored to save it from eventual avalanches, while its deadly horn allows it to quickly eliminate potential predators with a single blow. A vat-grown creature is unable to reproduce, and its lifespan is significantly decreased. Genetic material. Genetic material of several different species of warrior caste insects and predators mix into one payload of DNA. When administered into a human being, it can have a random effect. The royal maggot. A long, slow, repugnant, slug-like insectoid with a large sac of royal insectoid jelly on its back. Royal maggot leaves a disgusting trail of insectoid ooze wherever it goes, but regularly produces lumps of royal jelly ready for consumption. A genetically engineered beetle, once a worker caste of artificial ecosystem of insectoids designed to fight mechanoid invasions, is now seen without its deadlier insectoid cousins. Still, its size and hard shell make it dangerous when it attacks. A vat-grown creature is unable to reproduce. A caterpillar, a small insectoid made for almost entirely of royal insectoid jelly. Its soft and beautiful appearance is enough for humans to want to spend every minute around it. Caterpillars are quite valuable on the black market. A vat-grown creature, unable to reproduce. Now, if you help me... The milk beetle. Bioengineered livestock. Milk beetles produce thick insectoid milk on a large sac on its back. Whilst it is monetarily armored, chitin plates can safely be removed as they quickly grow back. Let's go with the milk beetle and the spider weaver, bioengineered insect the size of a bear, designed for production of beautiful insectoid spider silk and sometimes employed in combat. Its thick chitinous armor makes it hard to kill, while its sharp mandibles allow insectoid mandibles allow it to rip enemies to pieces. It is, however, quite slow in open terrain. Fun fact, if I give people enough genetic material, they eventually turn into a thing. I'll get one of you. I will accept. Guard. I'll put you on both guard and attack. Actually, I have a thought. These mega scarabs could be useful. I'm gonna take a bunch of those. But now that I think about it, you guys are all useful, aren't you? You aren't, and you're a misogynist. You're also misogynist, but you're useful. Plants. What I could do is experiment. I don't know, though. I'll think about it. Let's see, I have roughly 20 minutes. Ish. I had to pause, so... Now, Wikipedia also goes into some of Frederick's other owners, but from slavery to freedom. Douglass first tried to escape from Freeland, who hired him as his owner, was unsuccessful. In 1837, Douglass met and fell in love with Anne Murray, a free black woman in Baltimore, and 5 years his senior. That's not an issue, that's just what it says. Her free status strengthened his belief in the possibility of gaining his own freedom. Oh, actually, I'll send Gladys. Of gaining his own freedom. Murray encouraged him and supported his efforts by aid and money. On September 3rd, 1838, Douglass successfully escaped by boarding a northbound train of the Philadelphia, Wilmington, and Baltimore Railroad. The area where he boarded is a short distance east of the train depot. A recently developed neighborhood between the modern neighborhoods of East Harbor and Little Italy. The depot was located at President and Flat Streets, called the East Basin of the Baltimore Harbor, on the west branch of the Patapsco River. See, that's not going to do me much. It really isn't. But I have no use for these. And I can trade 10 of those, I think. At least for now. Young Douglass reached Havre de Grace, Maryland, and Hartford County in the east corner of the state, along the southwest shore of the Susquehanna River, which flowed in Chesapeake Bay. Although this placed him only some 20 miles from the Maryland-Pennsylvania state line, it was easier continuing by rail through Delaware to Delaware, another slave state at the time. Dressed in sailor's uniform provided to him by Murray, he also gave him part of his savings to cover the travel costs. He carried identification papers and protection papers that he obtained from a free black seaman. From a free black seaman. From a free black sailor. Now, protection papers at that time were papers that said issued to American seamen during the 18th century to the first half of the 20th century. These papers described a description of the sailor and showed American citizenship. These certificates would be issued for a fee of 25 cents, proof of citizenship. This was later changed to require only notarized affidavit of citizenship. They were offered to those who remained loyal to the crown during the American Revolution. Okay. Now, because these protection papers were used to define free men and citizenship, many black sailors and other men used them to show they were free men if they were stopped by officials or slave catchers. They called them free papers because they were certified their non-slave status. Now, Frederick Douglass said of these papers, it was the custom of the state of Maryland to require free colored people to have what were called free papers. This instrument they were required to renew every often, and by charging a fee for this writing, considerable sums from time to time collected by the state. In these papers, the name, age, color, height, and form of the free man were described, together with any scars or marks upon his person which could assist his identification. This device of slaveholding ingenuity, like other devices of wickedness, in some measure defeated itself, since more than one man could be found to answer the name and general description. Hence many slaves could escape by impersonating the owner of one set of papers. This was done as follows. A slave nearly or sufficiently answering to the description set forth in papers would borrow or hire them till he could by their means escape to a free state, and then by mail or otherwise return them to the owner. The operation was a hazardous one for the lender as well as for the borrower. A failure on the part of the fugitive to send back papers would imperil his benefactor, and the discovery of the papers in possession of the wrong man would imperil both the fugitive and his friend. It is therefore an act of supreme trust on the part of a free man of color thus to put in jeopardy his own liberty and that another might be free. It was, however, not infrequently bravely done and was seldom discovered. I was not so fortunate to sufficiently resemble any of my free acquaintances as to answer the description of the papers. But I had one friend, a sailor, who owned a sailor's protection, which answered somewhat to the purpose of a free papers, describing this person, certifying to the fact that he was a free American sailor. This instrument had at its head the American eagle, at which once gave it the appearance of an authorized document. This protection did not, when into my hands, describe the bearer very accurately. Indeed, it called for a man much darker than myself, and a closer examination of it would cause my arrest at the start. That is a mouthful. You see, take that sculpture, take that sculpture. Oh, right. I need to make more sculptures, don't I? Oh, the mammoth tusks. Yes. Sweet. I keep giggling at how many of those sprat I have. I mean, I'm probably going to need to get something else. I also need to learn how to breathe quieter. Once Douglass had arrived, he sent for Murray to follow him north to New York. She brought the necessary basics for them to set up a home. They were married on September 15th, 1838, by a black Presbyterian minister, just 11 days after Douglass had reached New York. At first they adopted Johnson as their married name, to accept yes. Now the couple settled in New Bedford, Massachusetts, which was an abolitionist center, the home of many former slaves. In 1838, moving to Lynn, Massachusetts. In 1841, insulting spree Lucy because a colonist died. Oh, right, the Megascarabs need to be trained to attack. Megascarab, attack. All animals follow the masters when drafted. Thank you. After meeting and staying with Nathan and Mary Johnson, they adopted Douglas as their name, as their married name. Douglas had grown up using his mother's surname of Bailey. After escaping slavery, he had changed his surname first to Stanley, then to Johnson. In New Bedford, the latter was such a common name that he wanted one that's more distinctive, and asked Nathan Johnson to choose a suitable name. Nathan selected Douglas. After having read the poem Lady of the Lake by Walter Scott, in which two of the principal characters had the surname Douglas. Douglas had thought of joining the White Methodist Church, but was disappointed from the beginning upon finding out that it was segregated. He later joined the African Methodist Episcopal Zion Church, black denomination established in New York City. In New York City, which helped him hone his orator skills. Oh, I wish this would grow a bit faster. There, haul all those shells. Now, after Douglas joined, Douglas also joined several organizations. Oops, I'm sorry. He held various positions, including steward, Sunday school superintendent, and sexton. A sexton is an officer of a church, congregation, or synagogue charged with maintenance of its buildings and or the surrounding graveyard. Okay. In 1840, while living in Lynn, Douglas engaged in early protests against segregated transportation. In September 1841, at Lynn's Central Square Station, Douglas and friend James and Buffum were thrown off an Eastern Railroad train because Douglas refused to sit in a segregated rail coach. In 1843, Douglas joined other speakers in the American Anti-Slavery's 100 Conventions Project, a 6-month tour at meeting halls in the eastern and western United States. During his tour, slavery supporters frequently accosted Douglas. At a lecture in Pendleton, Indiana, an angry mob chased and beat Douglas before a local Quaker family. The Hardys rescued him. His hand was broken in the attack and healed improperly and bothered him for the rest of his life. A stone marker in Falls Park in the Pendleton Historic District commemorates this event. In 1847, Frederick Douglass explained to Garrison, "I have no love for America as such. I have no patriotism. I have no country. What country have I? The institution of a country do not know me, do not recognize me as a man." Now, Douglas's best-known work was his first autobiography, Narrative Life of Frederick Douglass, an American slave written during his time in Lynn, Massachusetts, and published in 1845. At the time, some skeptics questioned whether an African American could actually write such an eloquent piece of literature. The book received generally positive reviews and became an immediate bestseller. Within 3 years, it had been reprinted 9 times with 11,000 copies circulating in the United States. It was translated to French and Dutch. And distributed into Europe. And published in Europe. Douglass published 3 versions of his autobiography during his lifetime. And of these, he revised a third each time expanding on the previous one. The 1845 narrative was his biggest seller, and arguably allowed him to raise the funds to gain his legal freedom the following year. In 1855, Douglass published My Bondage and My Freedom. In 1881, after the Civil War, Douglass published Life and Times of Frederick Douglass, which he revised in 1892. Crow car has gotten... Thank you, Lucy. Get in there, Gladys. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. But Tammy's on a food binge. Launch! Where do I go? Where do I go? Where do I go? Oh, shoot, you know what? I forgot to load more fuel. Why would I need to load fuel pods? Shut up, me. Visit Texton. Whee! Away! Already there. Cool. Trade. Now, Douglas's friends and mentors feared that publicity would draw the attention of his ex-slave owner, Hugh Auld, might try to get his quote-unquote property back. You have no idea how much that phrase ticks me off. No clue. This is actually in reference to his visit to Great Britain and Ireland. Of this, he traveled in Ireland as the Great Famine was beginning. "11 days, the feeling of freedom from American racial discrimination amazes Douglass. 11 days and half have gone, and I have crossed 3,000 miles of the perilous deep. Instead of the democratic government, I am under a monarchical government. Instead of the bright blue sky of America, I am covered by a soft gray fog of the Emerald Isle. I breathe, and lo, the chattel slave becomes a man. I gaze around in vain, for no one will question my equal humanity. Claim me as a slave or offer me an insult, I employ a cab. I am seated beside white people. Reach the hotel, enter the same door. I am shown the same parlor. I dine at the same table. And no one is offended. I find myself regarded and treated at every turn with the kindness and deference paid to white people. When I go to church, I am met by no upturned nose and scornful lip to tell me, we don't allow... And I'm going to get 2 of these cleaners, because, man, I am sick of looking at that baby. And for now, I will let you know how it goes on. But for now, everyone please have fun. Frederick Douglass's biography is not yet complete because of his importance as an abolitionist. Now, I hope I get to see everyone back. But for now, please have fun.